I spent about $300 on 3 juicers that all promised me the same thing, a fresh glass of juice in the morning. But here's the part that nobody tells you. They don't all do it the same way. So today is not about crowning a king, but understanding which one of these juicers do you want on your countertop. 3 juicers, 3 completely different methods, and 5 categories: assembly and prep, produce variety, output, sound, and cleaning. We'll add up the scores, and at the end we'll get a winner on points. But stick around because the scoreboard doesn't tell the entire story. Let's get into it. Now let's meet the contenders. First up is the simplest tool on your countertop, the Zulay Manual Citrus Press. It's $89.99, no motor, no cord, no electricity, just you, a lever, and your own muscle. It's heavy duty cast iron and built like a tank. And it's got one specialty it does better than anything else here. Remember that, because it matters later on. So the next one you may have seen on somebody's counter is this, the Breville Juice Fountain Plus. This is $150, the priciest of the 3. This is your classic centrifugal juicer. It has 850 watts and it has 2 speeds, a low speed for the soft stuff and the leafy greens, and a high speed that spins up to 12,000 RPM to rip through your hard produce like apples and carrots. It also has a 3-inch chute, so you don't have to chop things down too much before you juice. And this one is the internet and TikTok famous Susteas Cold Press juicer. This one actually surprised me a little bit because it came in as the cheapest of the 3 at $75.99. Now, this one is a slow masticating juicer, 300 watts, and instead of spinning fast, it slowly crushes and squeeze the produce, kind of like a screw press. Even wider chute at 5 inches, but it comes with one rule you have to respect, and I'll let you know what that is in a second. 3 juicers, 3 totally different machines, 3 different prices. Before we test them though, you gotta understand why they're different, because that's the catch. There are basically 3 families of juicers, and I grabbed one of each. The Zulay Manual Press is the oldest and simplest there is. You use leverage. You drop a piece of fruit in, you set it up, you press down, and you squeeze. That's it. Juice comes out the bottom into your cup. The catch is, and it's a big one, you can only press citrus. Lemons, limes, oranges, anything of that nature, grapefruits. I put all of that to the test today. Let's see. This Breville is a beast. It's the centrifugal fast spinning style that shreds your produce against the blade and then spins it thousands of RPMs and sends the juice through a mesh screen that then deposits it in this cup on the side here. Now the upside is it's fast. It handles just about anything, hard or soft. The trade-off here is that you'll hear about the heat and the air, and all that speed whips the air into the juice, so the centrifugal juice tends to foam up a little bit and oxidize. That means it basically starts breaking down a little faster. That's why you have to drink it fresh. Now about the whole it kills your nutrients thing, you're gonna hear a million different opinions on that. But how much a centrifugal juicer actually cuts into your nutrients is honestly up for debate. One person will say it wrecks everything, the other person says it barely makes a difference, and the truth is, it's probably somewhere in the middle. What I'll tell you straight up is this: some nutrient loss is thought to come with the territory on some of these fast spinning machines, mostly with heat and air. So just beware of it. Go centrifugal, drink fresh, and you're good. Lastly, and unlike the centrifugal style juicers that spin really quickly, this Susteas Cold Press is also called a masticating or slow juicing type of juicer. It turns really slowly and squeezes instead of spinning, so there's way less heat and way less air. That means less oxidation, drier pulp, and potentially higher yield, especially on leafy greens. And the juice, well, that holds up a little bit longer in the fridge, like 3 to 5 days or so. Sounds like the automatic winner, right? Now here's the rule that I promised in the beginning of the video. Susteas straight up tells us not to juice lemons or other really acidic fruits in this thing because the acid can corrode the motor over time. And that's not me guessing, that's confirmed right on the Amazon page. So follow the irony with me here. The manual press only does citrus, the cold press shouldn't do citrus, and the Breville's right in the middle doing a little bit of everything. So keep that in mind for the rest of the video, and now let's test them all. For these tests, we're going to be judging on a scale of 1 to 10 in each category. And remember, we have 5 categories. The first category, however, is assembly and prep. Now, the Zulay is one of the easiest that we have right now. And to assemble this, all you need is to take the 2 components and put them together. The first one is the strainer, the second one is the funnel. The strainer sits in the funnel, and there are 2 bumps in the side of the funnel. You can actually see them there. So the reverse is on the inside. You actually seat the strainer in the funnel, but upside down, because remember, you got to put your citrus on top here. You sit it past the bumps, and then you just spin it so that it's locked and it won't pop out. Similarly, in the base of the funnel, there are 2 bumps here that get seated right in 2 actual spaces in the press. And once you put those in, Then you turn it and it won't come out. And that's it, you're ready. Now, from a prep perspective, all you do, get your citrus and you cut it. However, what I found is that even though the base of the press is 5 inches, the head of the press is only 3 3/4 inches. So if you have citrus that has a diameter wider than 3 3/4 inches, what I found is the press only goes down to 3 3/4 and leaves a ring on the fruit, and then you have a whole line outside of that that has unsqueezed pulp. So, you know, you have to have citrus that is smaller as opposed to the bigger ones. That being said though, I give this a 9 out of 10. For the Breville, there's 7 different components you need to assemble to get this beast going. Let's go. And for prep, you have to peel your citrus, of course, as well as everything else that you put into this machine has to be less than 3 1/4 inches in diameter, else it won't fit down the chute. I give this a 7 out of 10. The Susteas comes in with 1 less component than the Breville with 6. Let's put it together. On the other hand, for the prep, the Susteas is pretty great. It has a 5-inch chute, so it could take almost any fruit or vegetable you want to put in here. Whether or not you peel your citrus is up to you. You know, that's always up for debate. And it's so big, it could almost take a whole pineapple. Of course, after it's peeled. Now, unlike TikTok, you actually have to make sure that this is closed before this machine will work. I give it an 8 out of 10. All right, so now let's go to category 2, which is product variety. I have 9 different types of fruits and vegetables here that are usually used for juicing that I'm going to run through all 3 machines. Let's test them out. First up, we have the Zulay Kitchen Press, but we know this is only for citrus, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And to help me, I actually got this cheesecloth bag, so I'm gonna put some of the other items in here and then squeeze them to see if we get any juice out of it. Let's go. Now let's do the lemon. Now let's do the apples. I know this isn't for this Zulay machine because we know this is only for citrus, but I'm gonna do it anyway, just to see what comes out. First, I'm gonna do the apples just like that, put them in, half an apple, squeeze it. Then I'm going to use a cheesecloth bag to see if this holds the apple close enough for us to get a ton of juice out of there. Let's try. So I went against manufacturer's instructions and I've already learned a lesson. I did the apples here, it worked pretty decently, but then I realized I stuck the strainer in this. So now the strainer, when it goes down, it's not turning and locking because I kind of spread out the strainer a little bit. So now it's kind of stuck and it's not locking anymore. I can still use it, but lessons learned. So there you go. Don't go against the manufacturer's instructions. So let's finish. I got these set up. I'm going to do the tangerines, the lemons, the tomato, and the lime and call it a day for the Zulay. So I have it to use in the future because I like this thing. Let's go. Now the tangerines. Now a tomato. Now the limes. The variety score for the Zulay is a 4, only the citrus and nothing else. All right, so that's it for the Zulay Kitchen Cold Press because we can't do anything else with here because we now know that the strainer can't take all that stress from some of the firmer stuff. They said so before, this is not on the machine, this is on me. So all good. Let's go to the Breville now. Now let's watch the beast in its element. This is the Breville Juice Fountain and it's gonna tear through all 9 of these different fruits and vegetables here. I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different. You're gonna see me save 2 glasses of juice, 1 from an orange and from 2 apples. That'll be used for category 3 in the output test that's coming up next. I saved that from the Zulay and I'm gonna save that from the Susteas as well. So you're gonna see me do that. You're gonna also get a chance to hear how loud this machine is, and you're gonna get a chance to see the foam as it gets ejected into the juice container on the left side here, on my left anyway. So stick around, let's check it out. Now that I have this on, I'm also gonna check the decibels that are being emitted from this machine. Let's take a look. At about 12 inches away, this is reading about 85, 86 decibels. All right, now let's do the apples. Hopefully these can fit. 3 3/4. Yes, looks like it. All right, I'm gonna put it on high again. All right, you get to see that foam again, so take a look. There's a lot of foam on top of the apple juice. Same thing everyone talks about. And you see it starts kind of oxidizing already. You see it starts turning brown, which is how apples look when you leave them out and they get exposed to air. So, all right, I'm gonna pour that into this glass and we'll use this to measure output in the next category. All right, so now moving forward, I'm just gonna blend the rest of this stuff and we'll see how it turns out. I'm gonna peel this tangerine, but I want you to see something. I'm gonna bring the camera around here so you can see there's a small space between where this reaches and where the blades are, so it doesn't go all the way. It leaves what looks like about a 1/4 inch left. So I'm gonna bring the camera and show you what that looks like. So this happened with some of the other fruits as well, but if you have more of that fruit, you get to push down the first piece, but you end up with a piece that's about a 1/4 inch thick, I think. So let me check what that looks like now. This is evenly ground. If you could look, you could see the circles on the top of the pineapple from where the centrifuge blade cuts it. So this is, you can see just the very last piece. So this is the space between this and the blade. Now let's do the lemons, the tangerine, the tomato, and the lime. I'm gonna do them with skin on, so because this thing will tear right through it. Not sure how it'll taste, but it'll tear through it. Let's let it settle for a second. As you can see, it's very strong. A very powerful machine. If you don't put your hand over the top and it's on high, it throws things out everywhere. It throws juice out. It may throw some bits out. Yeah, you want to make sure you always cover this so that nothing jumps back out, especially when it's on high. But let's see, take a look at this. So you see all the foam. You see a lot of pure juice at the bottom. Then you see pulp. Then you see foam at the top. And it really gets everything. So this is fantastic. I'm going to pour this out in a glass just so you see what it looks like. There's a little lip on the inside that holds back some of the foam. So you see there's only juice that came out in this. Now I did a lot of limes and lemons in here, so I'm probably not going to drink this. I'll actually taste it, see what it tastes like. Actually not bad. Tangy, but it feels like the celery neutralized a lot of that lime and lemon flavor. So it tastes pretty good actually. For this monster, you can only give it a 10 out of 10. This thing will eat through anything you put through this chute. It doesn't even matter. So again, 10 out of 10. Let's go to the Susteas and see how it fares. Lastly, let's look at the Susteas slow masticating juicer. This is a beast in its own right. It's not fast, but it's strong, like the first gear in your car. Now, we're going to do the same thing that we did the last time. I'm going to put 1 orange, get that juice, and then 2 apples and get that juice to compare in our next round. But we're going to just put these through. And then we're also gonna get how loud it is using the decibel meter. All right, let's put this on. See, it comes off when you open the lid. So let's put the orange in here, close it. See the juice start filling up here, pulp will start popping up on the side. All right, now I'll open. And now I will do the apple. You can just dump the whole apples in there. All right, interesting enough. Also, there's a little bit of foam in here. It's hard to see, but let me bring a camera and show you. There's some foam inside of here, similar to the centrifugal juicer, the Breville. You can see a little bit of foam, not a whole lot, but we got a little bit of foam on the top. See, you can barely see, it's just a little bit. Fresh apple juice. All right, so now we're gonna blast through the rest and just juice. And then I'll get the reading when I do the pineapple. Celery. Tangerine. Let's take a look at the decibel meter. Come back about 12 inches away, and you can see it's about 77, 78, somewhere there. Look at the pulp in this. Pulp is really dry. You can see how it's coming out. My hand is not even wet, at least barely. It's like shredded. And now let's open and get the juice. Let's see what the spinach does, and I'm gonna push it through with some pineapple. Let's go. Got some pineapple stuck here. I'm just trying to move it. Doesn't feel super dangerous because of how slow this is moving. I'm just trying to remove some stuck pineapple. All right. All right, this did really well. As you can see, this went through all of the fruits, but something we did here that we were not supposed to do from the very beginning, and I don't know if you remember me saying this, this machine was not supposed to process any of the citrus. So while it did go through the oranges and the lemons and the limes, I have to give this a 6 because if you continuously use citrus in this machine, it's going to destroy it. And as a matter of fact, I think I might go even lower than that, because if you're making juice in a juicer, how can you not be able to use acidic citrus products? And that is really interesting to me that this was built this way. Now, I don't know, and I don't think all masticating juicers have this issue. This just might be a Susteas issue. But at the end of the day, if I'm making juice, it's going to be with some citrus. There's going to be citrus in there somewhere. And if I can't use acidic citrus in here, then this might be a 3 actually for variety. So for this Susteas, I give it a 3 on product variety. Let's go. Let's talk about category 3, and that's output. Here I have all of the output from the 3 juicers. Before I get to my trusty measuring cup to measure the actual juice, let's look at the pulp. The first one, let's start with Zulay. So this is Zulay, this is Breville, and this is Susteas. Let's start with Zulay, the first one. Of course, it was not meant to do apples, and I learned it the hard way. However, as you can see, it did get a ton of juice from this apple without even going through all of the apples. So I think if they have a stronger mesh or strainer to press apples, it would go past all of these machines, right? If you look at this, this didn't use 100% of the apple, but still had a huge yield. All right, and now moving on to the orange for Zulay. The orange worked well. What you can see here is there's a ring of pulp around the edge, and that's what I was telling you about in the very beginning. Although the base of the press is 5 inches, the head that comes down is only 3.5. So what you'll see here is less juice in the Zulay per orange because it's 1 orange each, but that's because I had to find a smaller orange to get into the Zulay machine to fit. And even when you do that and it's slightly bigger, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a ring that goes around the entire orange, and that ring is where the head of the press comes down. And then of course, in relation to that, when you turn it over, you have all of the pulp that's pretty much unsqueezed on the edge here. It's a shortcoming, but I'm telling you, the inside of this is bone dry. If you could make a machine with a slightly bigger press, I think this would be fantastic and unbeatable. As of right now, you have to get the smaller fruits, and this is the output. So let's jump to the Breville. The Breville, as you can see, high foam we showed with the centrifuge. This, everyone knew about this from when we started. A lot of foam in this, a high yield as well, you can see that. But look at the difference in color. I want everyone to take a look. This was pressed, this was quickly spun, a high speed in the Breville, and then this was slowly masticated. And look at the difference in colors. So you see some of that oxidation happening, right? And then let's talk about what this feels like. So when you pick this up, this is like, it's not really dry. It feels like a very soft, it almost feels like a mashed potato kind of. So it's not super dry. Now there was a high juice yield, you can see, but there was still some juice left back in here. It feels wet. It's too small to squeeze, but look, if I squeeze, you see some juice falling out of my hand here. So not completely dry, and it's understandable. The yield was high, so you don't lose a lot, but there is some juice still in this plate. So let's jump over now to the Susteas, and this one, my goodness, it's so dry, it's clunking up. It's not wet at all. It is really, really dry. Get a couple drips there, but it doesn't feel like it. When you pick this up, it feels very fibrous, and it doesn't feel like the pulp is wet at all. It feels like you could pick this up and just go with it, throw it away, or compost it, or whatever the case is. So you really get that feel, and you see another high yield as well coming from the Susteas. So that's the pulp. I think all did really well. The Breville is a little wet, but that comes with the territory. The Susteas is really dry. That was interesting, and I hope for a bigger press head for the Zulay. Now let's move on to the amount of juice yield that we got. I got my trusty measuring cup. We're gonna pour it in and then pour it back into the glass, and then I'll use some tissue to wipe the inside to make sure there's no leave back from the previous one as we measure. First, we're gonna go with the Zulay. This is the orange juice, the small oranges or the smaller oranges. In ounces, this is just above 3 ounces. Now let's check the 2 apple yield from Zulay. It's just over 5 ounces. Now let's look at the orange yield from Breville. Almost just under 4 ounces. Let's look at the apple yield from the Breville. This was pretty high. This was about 7.5 ounces. Orange from the Susteas. That is about 5 ounces. Now the apple from the Susteas, no spillage. This is 8.5 ounces. So as we can see, we had a really good turnout from all participants, all juicers in this, but we see the Susteas coming out on top, I believe, across both categories or across both juices with 2 of the highest outputs for the 3 juicers. So that's really good from their perspective. With that said, scores for the output are going to go in order: 7 for Zulay, 8 for Breville, and 9 for Susteas. I'm going to jump straight into category 4, and that was sound. So for the Zulay, I really didn't pull out the decibel meter for that because there's really no sound, right? You put the orange in or the citrus in, and then you squeeze it. There really is no sound for that. But when it comes to the Breville was high speed, and that showed up at around 85. The Breville was loud. It did have a lower speed though, which came in at a little bit around 60, somewhere there, like 60, 61. But the high speed is a lot of the times where you're going to be using it to go through all of your hotter fruits. So that was interesting and loud. And then we got to the Susteas, and although the Susteas was 77, I think the noise felt a little bit different. The motor doesn't rev as loudly. It is a consistent kind of whirring sound, like as opposed to just like the screaming of the Breville. So from a sound perspective, Zulay gets a 10 because the lower your sound, the better. So Zulay would get a 10 there because it really has no sound. And then the Breville would get about a 7, while the Susteas would get an 8. There we are with sound, category 4. Let's jump to category 5. I think this category determines usually whether or not your juicer remains either in the pantry or just on your counter and never used, or whether you use it very frequently, and that's cleaning. Let's check it out. And I know this isn't a category, it probably should have been, but I didn't think that there would be a huge difference in it, but it's taste. So I just want to taste these, and really and truly, I think something that's really remarkable to me that I'm seeing from this is look at the different colors of the hand press, the manual press versus centrifuge versus the cold press. I think it's remarkable to see what's happening with the colors of the juice. It's orange, 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 apple, 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 and look at the colors of the apple juice. The hand pressed looks fresh. It really looks refreshing, like I just did it. This was the last to be done. And look at the condition of the cold pressed. Look at the condition of the color of the centrifugal juicer. So I think it's just interesting to look at. I actually would have thought that the centrifugal juicer would have had an output that turned brown faster based on everything that's been said online. But based on this, it's the same type of apple, same type of oranges, and look at what happened. I think that's really interesting. So let's taste it. I'm gonna taste the orange first from Zulay. Oh, that was good. That was refreshing. That felt really great. I'll just go orange, orange, orange. Breville feels thicker, slightly foamier. It doesn't feel as clean of a juice as the Zulay. All right, now for the Susteas. 3 different tastes. The Susteas tastes like it has more body. This tastes really clean, really fresh. This tastes very interesting. It has kind of like a foamy, airy taste. And this tastes almost syrupy, like thicker, like it has more body. That's these 3. This tastes so good. This tastes so good. This has a lot of pulp in it though. Again, we did this on the Zulay. It's not meant for that, so it's full of pulp. But the juice tastes great. This actually tastes sweeter, more sugary, which is interesting. I'm sure there's some type of scientific fact to back this, but we'll go with me, it tastes sugary. And then this one, this one actually tastes old. That's interesting. That's really interesting. This tastes old. This is the Susteas. Man, I don't know, 3 crazy outcomes, but they all taste great except this last one. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got a bad apple or something here, but they all taste great except this last one. Anyway, let's move on. So you just saw me clean these 3 machines, and because of how much work it took to clean the Breville, I give this a 6. The Zulay, easy peasy lemon squeezy, I give this a 10. And then the Susteas, I gave this a 7. It was slightly easier than the Breville. So there you have it. 5 categories tested across these 3 machines, and we have a winner. It's actually the Zulay Manual Press juicer. This juicer scored an 8.0 on average, while the Breville scored a 7.6 and the Susteas scored a 7.8. Now, the scores don't tell the whole tale. We have the Zulay that got 2 perfect scores for cleaning and sound, while the Breville got 1 perfect score for variety, and the Susteas got no perfect scores but still managed to come second. So you can see it's all close. The person who buys the Breville is probably on the go and doesn't have a lot of time, and they need to get the most fruits into their juice and the quickest output. The person who buys the Zulay probably has a little bit of time on their hands and is most interested in the nutrient content of their juice, while the person who buys the Susteas probably is looking for the most yield from all of their fruits and vegetables. Either way, if you pick up any one of these machines, it's better than a lot of the junk they have in the grocery stores these days. And if you want to grab one, you can use my link down in the description. It helps the channel out a lot, and it allows me to test this stuff so you don't have to waste your money. And if you enjoyed this video, go click my blender championship video right here. I put 4 blenders head to head to find the best one for you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.